Why don't we move on to Florence and the Machine, though? So this is Florence Welch's fourth studio album in the last 9-10 years since her debut album, Lungs, which, she broke out with Shake It Out on that album. She followed it up with Ceremonials in 2011, and then How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful in 2016. There was a hiatus there for about 5 years between Ceremonials and How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful. But this is her new album, Highest Hope, I think, is her most intimate one. And this is a singer who I think relies heavily on talking about some really intimate topics for herself. You think about her lead single, Hunger, for this. And I mean, talks about mental health issues, talks about eating disorder, and just how we all have our own things we're struggling with. But is this a good Florence and the Machine album?
It's weird.
Yeah.
Having just re-listened to all of it and all of her discography in full leading up to Highest Hope, because I hear a lot of songs before, but I never really listened to anything in full. It's really interesting watching like the bell curve for Florence and the Machine as an act, because I feel like I like each record slightly less. Like, not necessarily that it's bad, it's just that as it's changing sonically, I'm just liking it less. Like Lungs is, especially like the deluxe edition of Lungs, really long record, like hour 20 minutes, but a lot of those like really charismatic up tempo songs just really fit her. Like she's like a really big voice, she's a charismatic performer. And then Ceremonials was more or less like Lungs, a little different, but then instrumentally it really changed with How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful. And then I feel like with this record, Highest Hope, again, it's just there's just not as many like big moments to me that like really pop. That's why I really gravitated to Hunger, I think, which is the second single from the record, just because like the chorus is really loud, and there are moments I still like. I think like on Grace, there's like that echoey chorus moment, which I thought stood out, but I don't know. I just think the sonics kind of just distract me, and I couldn't really get into this. How did you feel about it?
I really like this album. I mean, we talked about one of Florence's singles. It might have been Big God the other day, or a couple weeks back. Check it out on soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod. And we said that pretty much her voice is just very affecting. It's incredibly charismatic, and it just grabs you. It's one of the few like female vocals that really sticks out to you. I think about her, Adele, like the Alabama Shakes,
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga, people like that you just hear it and and I think you talk about the bell curve of her career. It's kind of like the opposite for each song, that she usually does, because it usually starts very simple, very sparse, and it really builds up to something big. And I found it very interesting that the last song of this album was called No Choir, because it's the only song I can really remember of hers that doesn't involve backing vocals or some chorus in some way. And I think she's really trying to find her footing as she moves from being this young artist into a more mature artist who has gone through different experiences. And she's in a much better place in her life. She's talked openly about having to quit drinking, having to quit taking drugs, and she talks about that a lot in this album as well, like memories of that. But I think No Choir kind of hits it on the head. Like, how do I continue to write interesting things when, happiness, the thing I'm striving for, is really not that interesting. It's peace. It's calm. So I think she's trying to find herself, but I think she has a lot of really, really great moments. A song that I really liked, Big God is great, but 100 Years really stood out to me as one of my favorites. Another one that hits for me and sometimes doesn't hit for me is Sky Full of Song, which I think tries to have a really anthemic kind of sound, but I don't know if it totally gets there.
It worked for me better within the flow of the album than it did as a single beforehand.
Yeah. So I think there's moments on this. Where do you see Florence in kind of like just the hierarchy of artists right now, I guess, especially rock artists?
Well, and that's the thing too, like the fact that she's like gripping with her lyrical content and the future of her songwriting is almost besides the point, because it doesn't freaking matter at all. Like she's one of the bands, like eight-piece band now. Like it's
It's huge.
one of the biggest, most popular, you know, I mean, what genre would you call this?
I call
Like
it alternative rock.
alternative rock? Like I almost want to
Yeah,
say prog rock. That's not really right,
could
but
be. Eh,
yeah. But any kind of like rock band of the past 15 years, it's one of the most popular ones out there. And in terms of female vocalists, she's the biggest thing going in rock music. And you know, they are one of the few acts that can actually be a festival draw. We talked about the lack of female headliners at music festivals in the past. Check
mhm.
that out. It's like a Complex Nostalgia pod. So I think Florence and the Machine is frankly an institution, but you know, the way rock music works is they really have their ebbs and their flows, any band where they have an album roll out, they go on tour and they go away for a few years and they come back. You know, it's not like hip hop, which we'll get to, where you're always present.
Yeah,
So but because of the way the rock scene works, I think Florence and the Machine, yeah, like I said, it's an institution. It's got the band's doing just fine, and I think it's a great sign that she's actually just thinking about her lyrics, because that'll go a long way with the people that really care.
yeah, and to kind of go back to your point about not really mattering, think about all of those albums that you listen to. I mean, how many of those songs do people really know? I mean, there's maybe like 8 to 10 Florence songs people know. And
Right.
that's the thing, is as long as she can get one or two off each album that are going to be anthem filling, that she can go and just crush vocally, dance around stage with her bright red hair, flowy dresses with the light behind her, making her look like a goddess. Like she doesn't have anything to worry about. I don't think it's interesting too, because I feel like she's just kind of a vibe at this point. Like people see her, or especially I think female fans of rock, and they kind of just like the persona she gives off, which is like this like free spirit, like ultra feminist vibe, which I think is really needed in that sphere right now. So
Better line, all right.
yeah, exactly. And it's actually interesting because this album, she used Lana Del Rey's producer
Mhm.
to make it sound more stripped down and more sparse. So I think she's trying to, explore what's next for her and find her groove, while also trying to maintain that image. And it's a tough sell, but I think she did pretty well in this album. So I'll give her like a solid 7, maybe a 6.5,
Yeah,
around
no,
there.
and I thought the listen was good. I think it's also her shortest record, so that goes a long way. We'll get to a long record in just a second, but um, while I liked like the way the music was made in the earlier days, I think the lyric content's still fine. It's not that
Mhm.
like I got bored or anything. The way I was bored with Gorillaz, so
Yeah.
it'll be a record people come back to. I think in terms of rock records that we've had so far this year, it's one of the most notable ones already.
Yeah, I imagine when you think about rock records, like what's Casey Musk, if you count Casey Musgraves as like country rock, but then like I can't really think of any female artists that are up there.
Mm,
Courtney Barnett released an album that was pretty good.
right.
Snail Mail, which we still haven't
Snail
talked
Mail.
about.
Soccer mommy. Like there's not a lot.
Yeah, and then that what I can't say her name, Mitski or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll get to all those at some point, probably a catch up pod in the future. But yeah,
Sparse
so
in the summer. We'll get to it then.
yeah, Florence and the Machine, gonna be listening to that for quite a while.